Good afternoon. It's currently 43 degrees C out here, and we're going to talk this week about how to cycle in the heat. So today we're going to examine what changes you need to make in order to acclimatise yourself to cycling in the heat, and also what's going on with your body. What can you do to make sure that you stay safe? Well, the most obvious thing to do, of course, is to don't be so stupid as to go out when it's 43 degrees C. If you can put off your ride, put off your ride. Go and do something else. Stay in the cool, have an ice cream. Prepare yourself. Go out early in the morning or late at night. Go out at night. Don't go out in 43 degrees C. You're crazy. So have a think about what you're wearing or what you plan to wear. And no, a sombrero, a Hawaiian, swim shorts and sandals aren't it. Sandals might be it. The reason why I've been wearing this D2D jersey for all these summer videos is because it's the coolest one I have. The whole of the back panel is mesh, and I find that it's just the coolest. It could be a plug to D2D if you like, but it's just my coolest jersey. There'd also be a little bit of wear because my back has got a grid pattern on it from the mesh of both this jersey and the bib shorts that I've got underneath. Be aware that your back can burn, but really just take a look at what you have. You'll get to know which one is the coolest, but do try them because they do use different fabrics. Now, some people advocate the use of a mesh under jersey to help wick the sweat quickly away from your skin, but quite frankly, it's what your jersey should be doing, and you don't want an extra layer if you can help it. You want that sweat away from your skin and out into the air as quickly as possible. So I wouldn't suggest anything more than you absolutely have to wear, and I think that's borne out by the Tour de France guys. You don't see a lot of undershirts when they're hitting the top of the Tourmalet or such. If it's a holiday or a specific race that you're trying to work towards, you can actually acclimatise to the heat. You can do it by getting on the turbo trainer and turning the fan off. You can do it by having hot baths. What you're trying to do over the course of maybe 2 weeks is to tell your body to start sweating earlier. That's basically it. But you can actually do it by doing those sorts of things. So it is actually possible to calculate your sweat rate so you know roughly how much liquid you should be putting back in. And you do this by, well, it's better if you're doing it on a turbo trainer. There's a lot of variables by trying to do any test in outdoor conditions. So on a turbo trainer, or rather before you get on the turbo trainer, have a wee. And if you're going to drink while you're on your turbo trainer, take your drinks bottles with you and weigh yourself naked. And then you do your, say, an hour of exercise. You record the temperature and the humidity and how intense your exercise was, so you can start comparing. And you do an hour of intense exercise, sweat a lot, get off the bike, take your clothes off because your clothes can retain some liquid, some sweat, towel yourself dry, and take your empty water bottles with you and weigh yourself again. And the difference is what you've sweated. So over the course of an hour, if you were 100 kilos before and you're 99 now, you've sweated 1 kilo of sweat. And let's not get too complicated. Let's say that's 1 litre of sweat. So you know that roughly your sweat rate is about 1 litre an hour at that sort of intensity, at that sort of temperature. And then you can replace that with electrolytes. Doesn't have to be 100%, but it's a good idea to get quite close, over 80% of what you've lost. So another thing you might want to think about before going on a hot long ride is preloading with a fairly strong electrolyte concentrate. What we really need to talk about is hydration. Hydration is everything. So yes, we need to rehydrate our bodies. Obviously, we're going to be losing a lot through sweat. What hydration does is Well, the biggest one is it allows our blood to retain its volume, and the blood does so much for us. So because the blood is near our skin trying to radiate heat, it isn't in other places. Now the other places that it isn't is near our muscles, so we can actually exercise properly. It's also not near our brain, so that we will actually get fatigued. It's also not in our gut, so we're less able to digest food. And that's quite a key one, because if you start, obviously you're using energy. In the heat, you won't be able to digest any food you take in. It's just blood can't do everything. So the energy you require is better off in liquid form. So a gel is actually easier to digest. I mean, you could even take some sort of wet food of your own devising. And then there's other smaller tips. Now these can include things like wearing a buff to keep the sun off the back of your neck, because the sun can really affect you there. And also you can actually damp that down. It's a fantastic feeling having a cold cloth on the back of your neck when you're riding. Another one, always take at least 2 bottles with you, but the second one, pop it in the freezer for about 45 minutes before you go, or longer. But really, if you've got a cold drink, it's so refreshing, as opposed to a hot drink, which just isn't. Some people advocate actually freezing your second bottle. In my experience, you might need it before it's thawed, so you end up sipping away these tiny little dregs that are melting little by little, and what you really need is a big gulp. So you can get it close to freezing, it can be partly frozen, but I wouldn't freeze it solid if I were you. That's another thing actually. Don't buy electrolyte mix, for goodness sake. Make your own. You can either just use squash, sugar-free squash to start off with, and you can add your own salt and sugar to it.
If you decide to stop at a cafe, order cold drinks, but also ask for extra ice. And put that ice in a sock which you keep in your pocket and pop it on the back of your neck when you start cycling again. Try to drink little and often. You're trying to get through around a bidon an hour on a long ride.
Now we all know cycling is a fantastic sport, that's why we do it. But yet another reason is that you can continue to cycle in temperatures where doing other slower sports you'd have to give up, because of course when you're cycling you're creating your own wind. How do I put that better? Because when you're cycling, you're being cooled by a wind of your own creation. Now you do have to be a little bit careful with that, because you're not always going to be moving, although one of my tips is keep moving. But if you need to stop to have a tinkle or a cafe break, or if you need to head up a steep hill where your pace will slow, or even if you have a tailwind, you'll feel every single degree of the heat in those conditions.
And once you've finished your ride, you're not quite done yet. You need to lower your core temperature. Best way of doing that, of course, would be a cold shower or cold bath or leaping into a swimming pool. You'll obviously need to rehydrate too, but you also need to make sure that your electrolyte levels are up. You need to make sure you have sodium, potassium and calcium.
Oh, that was hard. But do remember, you're supposed to be enjoying it. Cycling is enjoyment. Don't overdo things. Listen to your body. If you're getting too hot, if you're feeling in any way nauseous, get off the bike. Get into some shade, cool down. So like I say, take it easy. Enjoy yourselves. And until the next one, thanks for watching.